Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Women Together. My name is Antoinette, and I am very pleased to be joining you all today. And I know that some people are already introducing themselves in the chat. So we can start, as we typically do, by just introducing ourselves and where we're coming from in the chat. And if you haven't found the chat yet, you can look at the bottom of your screen. If you're on a computer, and just click on the chat button, and you can just say where you're coming from. We have all across the United States, and we see Switzerland also in today, Massachusetts, Ohio, the Hudson Valley, Wilmington, North Carolina, Lake Forest, Illinois, upstate New York, Owatonna, Minnesota, I believe. No, where? My geography. I was a geography major, but now I'm thinking about all these different places and where they all are. San Rafael, California, Philadelphia, Northern California, Chelmsford, Massachusetts, Walnut Creek, California, Wisconsin, Ohio, West Palm Beach, Florida, where it's partially sunny and chilly for us. I heard that in Berkeley it's been 77 degrees and 70-mile-per-hour winds. So winter looks different across at least the United States and also around the world. So Minnesota, yes. Okay, thanks, Francis. Sorry. I have one of those moments. Rockland County, New York. Bethesda, Maryland. Yes. Susan, thank you for sharing what's going on. In DC right now, there has been lots happening in our country, in our world. And so to just come together for a little hour and just be together for this 60 minutes where we can just land. And today we're talking about releasing tension. I think that's a useful topic, and I have lots to say on it, although I won't, bore you with all of my thoughts on it. But I think it's a really great time to be coming together as this group of women together, and really just sharing with one another, and an opportunity to find the freedom that lives within ourselves. Eileen Fisher started this program a few years ago in order to invite all of us to be able to, she started creating clothing that allowed us to feel comfortable and confident in our bodies. And so this programming goes just a little bit deeper than that. And yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, and I was thinking a lot yesterday about what is freedom and what is this idea of freedom, and how do we attain freedom? What does that actually mean for us? And what of course, there are limits to our freedoms as human beings on the planet, and we all have responsibilities. And there are lots of societal structures that we put in place in order to get our needs met. But there's also this inner freedom that we talk about and that we experience. And when we can have the freedom within ourselves to make a choice about who we are and how we exist in the world, that's really the type of work that we're doing here. And the invitation is that when we can have that kind of inner freedom, then we can step out in the world and bring that to our communities and to our society and neighborhoods and beyond. So that's really what we're doing here. It's just an opening, and we do a lot of tiny practices to be able to have that kind of sense of peace and connection with each other. And also, in this time, it's been a way for us when we're, trying to care for one another by being socially distant, or all of the, the different ways that we might have found even before social distance, this disconnect, this sense of separation. That Women Together is really a way that we can come back together, reconnect to our own sense of oneness and our own sense of presence, and to find that connection within ourselves and with each other. So that's really what we do here. That's why the breakouts, we do these, so today I've already started talking, but I'll do a little bit more. We'll do some tiny practices, and then we'll do some connection with each other where everyone will really have a chance to speak and be heard and really hear from one another. And that is where the magic happens. I just kind of provoke the discussion a little bit, and then it's up to you. So it's been absolutely wonderful, and I see so many familiar faces. Hello, everybody. I love scrolling through the gallery and giving a little wave, because there's just it's been a wonderful community that keeps growing, and I love hearing, oh, I brought my friend, and now we're connecting on this kind of level. And it's just absolutely beautiful the way that I start to develop this community, even in an online space. Who would have thought? So welcome back, and welcome if you're just joining us for the first time. I will lead us off in a just moment of stillness. And I often talk about this, but we have a singing bowl, which is for conference room use only, but I welcome you to my living room where we are doing these women together conversations, and inviting us into a place of stillness wherever we are, and just allowing ourselves to get grounded and centered and remind ourselves just for a little moment what it means to be human on the planet. So if you can get both feet on the ground, that's available to you, feel free to do that. If you'd like to close your eyes or lower your gaze and just tune into the body, being on, if you're sitting or standing, just being on the cushion, being supported by the earth, just feeling the body on the planet in whatever way it is right now. Tuning into the breath. Perhaps feeling the temperature of the breath. Perhaps just on the edges of the nostrils, coming in and out. And in just a moment, I'll ring the bell for a moment of stillness. For us to just land here together with our feet on the planet. And our hearts beating and our breath moving. And in this moment of stillness, with all that motion inside, just finding a place of center. And with a soft gaze returning to the screen and to all of these wonderful women who we are here with in all of these different places. Just taking, maybe in gallery view, taking a look at who's here, who's with us in this kind of widening circle of wonderful people here together. And as we do that, you can start to just think about what brought you here today. And that could be a kind of existential question, or it could be more of, I saw this on I don't know, whatever. And, my email, and I thought, be a good time to release tension. So whatever it is, Carol Williams already got us started in the chat saying, while in isolation, my physical geography seems insufficient to explain my location. So for what it's worth, hello from my state of alternating toxic stress, fatigue, and hopefulness. So thank you, Carol, for just reminding us that we can come to this place for this hour, and yeah, that we are alternating between, many of us are alternating between these states from what's going on in our world, and also what may be going on in our own homes, in our own experience. So just maybe taking a moment and jotting down, how are you? What's going on? What brought you here today? And just typing that in the chat. Marianne, a holding place to land. Risa, connection and structure and joy. Anna, looking for a space of grounding, peace, and togetherness. Kala, having some strains within the nuclear family and a loss of a family member. We're holding you in that loss. Yeah, reminder, I'm not alone, from Rebecca. Jennifer, connection. Ruth, lockdown fatigue. Yes. Beth Ann, respite with a caring community. Diane, here to regain calm after a week of healthcare stress for a family member. Elaine, slowing down, being able to take a breath. And if you're on YouTube, you can type it directly in the comments and we'll pull them in from there too. Wonderful. Hunger for community, from Doreen. Isolation is becoming stifling for me, from Barbara. Feeling the light here, from Anne. Relief from the isolating day today. Bring in Jan's voice from DC, so prepare yourselves. But everyone in DC is on high alert. Hearing military jets the other night put everything in perspective. I would not have missed this for anything. Feeling hopeful, but right now I am stressed. Susan, taking time away from the news. That's why I gave you the little trigger warning for DC. And, there's just a number of us who are really here for taking a breath and a need for peace, stability, civility, expanding horizons while staying safe at home. Beautiful. Getting a shot of resilience. I love that. Oh, so yeah. Oh, I love this one from Doreen. So someone to put their arm around my shoulder and say, everything is going to be okay. Yeah. So there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of kind of tension and anxiety and stress and kind of, just a lot that we're holding together. And one of the things that I like to think about this community is that, and in general, is that often when we're alone, that feels like there's just so much on our shoulders and so much that we have to carry. And when we're together, that becomes lighter and we can hold that together. So I want to invite us into that just feeling as we step into this releasing tension conversation, that we're holding this together, that by coming together and by even just sharing in this chat and connecting with one another, by seeing each other's faces, by listening to each other, that we start to actually hold this together. And we're holding that experience together. And that's what allows us to move through. And the reminder that, for me, there's so many different ways that I can, when I'm facing anxiety and stress, I turn away, and I just want to separate and I want to disconnect. And yet there's a reason that we're here on the planet at this time together. I don't know what it is, and I can't claim to be able to figure that out for any one of us in this room. And yet there is something that we're here together, and that we can support each other to move through this time, and that we can bring healing to our planet and healing to our families and to ourselves. And that's where we have to start. So I remind us of that. And I also, I was thinking about tension, because I will own that I came up with this topic for today. And I, thought about it as, we just really need a release of tension. And then when I really sat with what that means, what am I actually thinking about? What does that really mean? And as I said yesterday, I was reading Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham jail, and I was thinking a lot about this. It's not just from Martin Luther King, but he talks about violent tension and nonviolent tension. He also talks about positive peace and negative peace. And I was also thinking about this when you work out, so like just pretty basic, not so philosophical, but when we do any kind of growth, there's some kind of tension. So there's some kind of positive tension that we experience, that we have this moment of being able to grow by only having this kind of rupture or this tension that we experience. And the other thing about tension is that I find that I'm doing this for a reason, but the only reason that I experience tension is when I'm pushing up against something, which means I have to care enough about it. And there's something about that there's either the push or the pull. And either way, when there's a disengagement, then even when I just did that with my hands, right? And maybe we just all try that together. Just you put your hands together and just put some tension from the right side. The left side starts to fall. Put some tension from the left side. The right side starts to fall. If there's one, and then if you put equal tension, and just push against each other, there's a balance, but there's also a little bit of, tension in the arms, perhaps. So just recognizing when you push against that and push maybe a little bit harder and a little bit harder, and your body starts to get a little bit stressed, and then release. And all of a sudden, when I release, my hands start to come apart and come away from each other. So there's just this element of playing with the tension. Can we get playful with that and look at with some perspective, what is it that I'm pushing against or that I'm stressed by? And what does that actually mean for myself? What is that actually bringing up in me? So how much of this tension is necessary for growth? And how much do I need to open myself up to that tension? And how much is it a freedom of my own choice to say that that's not a tension that is actually helping me grow and I can let it go? So there's just an element of this. So we're going to do two things. We're going to journal because this is very heady. So we're going to get into our own hands with it. And I'll guide us through some journaling questions to just sort through what's actually going on in here. And then we'll do some body movements where we'll do a little bit more of those practices just to find the tension and release the tension, find the tension and release the tension, and just play with it, and not, let it sort of take over, but find ways to actually be with it, and not just kind of try to push it out, because when we push it out and we push it away, it just comes roaring back. So we have to find ways to kind of play with it and let it allow us to grow. So I hopefully have said enough that you've been able to find paper and pen. And if you haven't yet, you can grab it. And so just find a piece of paper, a pen or pencil, perhaps a journal, and I'll guide us through a couple of questions, or actually 4 questions, 5. So the first question is, what frustrates you? And you can just jot down a few things. I, of course, put my pen somewhere. Okay. So as you jot down these few things, what frustrates you? Just notice the pen moving on the paper. This is not, a thought exercise. This is just keeping the hand moving, keeping the pen on the paper. And the next question, what energizes you? And just noting that what frustrates you may also be what's giving you energy, but or maybe it's a different kind of energy, but what energizes you? The next question, where do you see or sense tension in your own life? It could be also in your body. Where do you see or sense tension in your own life? And perhaps it's already starting to come up, but what lessons are you needing to learn from this tension? Or what lesson might this tension be trying to teach you? And the last question, which might have already come up, is what might you be letting go of now? Because there's an aspect of this tension that once you've kind of learned from it, then you can release. So what might you be letting go of now? Some of us may have just experienced a strange Zoom move, but hopefully you're still journaling. So hopefully you're still journaling that final question of what may you be letting go of now, and it might be for Zoom to work properly. But if you just got knocked around in Zoom. So, what may you be letting go of now? And when you've completed that, yeah, some of us got moved into breakout rooms suddenly and moved back. So I'm glad that I think we're all here. So um, little disorienting, but that's okay. We're here. So hopefully you got a chance to at least think of one or two things that you might be letting go of now. And what I'd like to invite us into is standing up. So you can just keep that thing in mind of what you're letting go, what you're what's moving through. And you can stand up and interlace your fingers. So stand up, interlace your fingers, and let them kind of sit in a basket at the base of your pelvis. And just put what you're letting go of, whatever it is, whatever you're letting go of, into that basket. And we have a teacher friend, Zuleika, who calls this drop your troubles. So you just take the basket and you flip it over. And you flip the basket out and drop your troubles down on the ground. And then you can forward fold if you'd like to, just forward fold all the way down. And if you'd like, if you feel good doing that, you can bend your knees a little bit and just release any tension in the low back. So just bend your knees, forward fold, drop your troubles, and then you can slowly begin to roll up when you're ready. And as you roll up, you're gonna just notice in the shoulders and the head come up last. Notice that there might be a little tension in the shoulders. You can roll them back around and down. If your fingers are still interlaced, if they're not, you can interlace them again and just flip your basket again and just push that out. Push it out away from your body and then up and overhead. And then pop your fingers out at the top and release them out and down. And sometimes it can be that simple, but sometimes you need to do it again. So we're going to do it again and just bring the fingers together, interlace them, put whatever it is you're letting go of, maybe it's not gone yet, down into the base of the pelvis at the basket. You can flip that, drop your troubles out, just release them. And if you'd like to go down again, feel free to do that. Just go all the way down to the ground, bend your knees, and just feel a release in the low back, a release in the shoulders, a release in the back of the neck. Just feel whatever's there, letting that go, and then pushing the hands out and away from you this time, out and up and overhead, pushing them out, up and overhead. Inhale, and then exhale, push the fingertips apart, out and down, and fix your clothes, because that's what we always end up doing. And just finding some release in the shoulders. If you'd like to sit down again, you can roll your shoulders back. I personally get a lot of energy from doing yoga and a lot of release from doing yoga. So that's my practice, but a lot of us have a lot of different practices that we bring to the table, and we'll discuss those in the breakout. But just a couple more from the seated position. I'm still standing, but you feel free to stay seated. You can just reach your right arm up and overhead. This is your right, so up and overhead. And inhale into the rib cage and maybe just open up to the sky. Just remembering that there's limitless possibility up there. Inhale. And then exhale, release that arm down, the left arm, reaching it up and overhead. And just reaching. Sometimes we're reaching for a lot more that's out there, and sometimes that's already inside. So just inhale from the rib cage and open. And exhale, release the arm down and closing that energy field there. And then this time, maybe inhale the shoulders forward, because we did them backwards before. Just releasing. I hold so much tension in my shoulders, so much. In part because I sit like this, but in part also because that is just where anytime I get activated, and I'd be curious, think about where does the stress or tension live in your body? But anytime I get activated, my knees lock up and my shoulders lock up. And it's just an immediate thing. I read something that I don't like, or, I see something or I hear something, somebody says something, and I just immediately, so where is it that your body holds tension? This is my least favorite stretch, but it's probably the most important. Clasping the hands behind the back. And if you can, I know a lot of us have shoulder things. If you can, clasp the hands behind the back, open the shoulders, and just inhale across the chest. And sometimes this little stretch in and of itself. Just inhale into the chest and exhale. One more time, inhale into the chest. Exhale. And one last time. Inhale and fill the chest. And exhale. Just releasing, maybe shaking out the hands, shaking out the shoulders. And it's any time in the day we can do something like that. And I just saw some of us yawning, and there just might be some of that discharge, that's happening. The stress starts to leave the body through needing more oxygen, or maybe a little sweat comes, or, you start to heat up a little bit. That is all tension and stress relieving in the body. So we'll do one more thing, which is in yoga, you'd call it a cat-cow pose. So if you know that already, you can just do it. And you can do it seated. Just put your hands onto your legs or your knees lightly, and just roll the shoulders forward and send the belly button back to the spine. And exhale completely. And then inhale, lift the chin, lift the chest, send the belly button out, send the pelvis back. Inhale, 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 and then exhale. Scared cat position without the scared, but just the one that you see on Halloween. Tuck the chin, send the belly button back, and then inhale. And fill the chest, fill the belly button. Beautiful. I love it. And then exhale. And then on this one, inhale and think of something that makes you smile. So inhale, just think of something that makes you smile. Maybe it's an animal that lives in your life, or maybe there's some being that you enjoy, or picture or landscape. Exhale. Just bring that into your life, and then shake out the shoulders, shake out the hips a little bit if you can. Maybe a little light chin bobbing. And we'll do one last thing, which is just another place that I hold a lot of stress is in my jaw. And I will scroll something in some sort of social media and my jaw will just clench up. Whew. So just little, you can open the jaw. Don't be afraid to look silly. This is being human. So just, you don't need to apply too much pressure. We don't want more tension, but just maybe walking the fingers up and down this part of the face. You can sing to yourself, just let it out. And sometimes that goes up into my sinuses. We don't need any of that. So just noticing where it feels maybe a little clenched. Yeah. And then you can shake it out. So make some silly sounds. Beautiful. And just remember this, at some point during the day, whenever you can do a little side to side. Yeah, Suzanne said, remember doing this every morning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is something, remember doing it with your kids every morning? Is that what happened, Suzanne? Yeah, so there's things that we knew as children, or things that we taught to our kids that we might need to just do for ourselves. These are little ways just coming back to the body, because often everything is going on in our minds and we are seeing images, or we're hearing stories, or we're telling ourselves stories. And when we can come back to the body and we can release the tension in the body and we can come back to the breath, then we're just centered and present and ready and resilient. And we're able to, when we find healing in our body, then we can bring that to other people. We can bring that to our communities. So remembering that, maybe shaking it out a little bit whenever you need to, just a little, ooh. Don't let it live in the body. Just let it out. So I hope we had a little fun. Thanks, Anna, for saying that too. Yeah, we just play with it, play with the tension and play with, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety in each of us. And we just have to let that out a little bit. So thank you for doing it with me. I loved seeing all of our fun faces. And we will turn to each other now, and just feel free to share and feel free to let yourself be heard and to listen to each other. And if there is any stress or tension, just finding ways to release that in our bodies, because we don't need to hold that from anyone else, but we don't need to hold it at all. So, we can let it move through. So it's not that when I spoke earlier a little bit about the violent and nonviolent or negative versus positive piece, it's not about saying, I'm just going to let this go and I'm not going to deal with it. It's about actually letting it move through the body, using our bodies almost as the washing machine, just letting it move through the body so that we can then put the what's needed back into the world. So, breakout happening now, 20 minutes. We will turn to each other, enjoy the time together, and we will be back here in 20 minutes and share with each other. So enjoy. See you soon.